The sun had barely risen when the quiet suburban street witnessed something it had never seen before. A single mother, exhausted and trembling, knelt beside a wooden crate of apples while her little daughter tried to arrange them with tiny, hopeful hands. They had been out there since dawn, hoping to make a few dollars before the day grew hot. But just as the neighborhood stirred awake, a sleek black car rolled to a stop. A man stepped out, broad shoulders, expensive leather jacket, arrogance trailing him like a shadow. He looked down at the apples, then at the mother and child, and the threat he uttered made the little girl shrink behind her mom as tears welled in her eyes. The mother's heartbeat stumbled. She knew exactly who he was. He was the Don's son. If you believe kindness and second chances can change the world, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Her name was Claire, a woman who once had a stable life until everything broke at once. Her husband died in an accident, the insurance refused to pay out over a technicality, and she was left with a daughter, medical bills, and a bank warning her that the house she grew up in was close to being taken away. There were days she barely had enough for dinner, and nights she quietly cried into her pillow so her daughter wouldn't hear. Selling apples in front of her house wasn't dignity, it was survival. But she never complained, not even when neighbors whispered that she had fallen too far. She reminded herself every morning that her daughter was watching, and she wanted her to learn strength, not shame. But the Don's son, whose name carried more fear in town than any storm, didn't care about her story. He had stopped his car simply because he didn't like the idea of someone messing up the street aesthetics. He stared at her as if she were less than human and told her she may as well pack everything up before he returned, or she would regret being in his way. Claire felt her throat tighten. Her daughter clung to her, sensing the danger. The apples she had so carefully polished the night before suddenly looked like a pile of helpless hopes ready to be kicked aside. A few apples had already rolled onto the street when he slammed his door shut and leaned over her crate as if daring her to protest. For a moment, Claire looked around, hoping someone would intervene. Cars passed. People walked by. But no one wanted trouble with the Don's family. No one wanted to risk their peace. And so the world went silent, except for her daughter's quick breaths and the heavy thump of her own heart. Then came a sound that changed everything. The steady, unmistakable roar of motorcycles, deep and thunderous, echoing through the neighborhood like a storm arriving. The ground seemed to vibrate as several large bikes rolled into view, their chrome frames glinting in the sunlight. Jackets with a familiar emblem, one that people both feared and respected, reflected the morning light. The Hells Angels. Claire froze. The Don's son turned his head sharply, irritation flashing into uncertainty as he recognized the insignia. The riders slowed, engines still rumbling as they pulled up behind him. And leading them was a man who removed his helmet slowly, revealing cold, assessing eyes and a jaw that had clearly clenched through decades of battles. He scanned the situation before focusing on the small overturned apple and the terrified child. He didn't know Claire. He didn't know her daughter. But he knew injustice when he saw it. The Don's son tried to posture, stepping back and crossing his arms as though he could intimidate the entire world with his father's shadow. But this street wasn't ruled by the Don, not today. The leader of the Angels stepped off his bike and walked toward them, each heavy boot step making the younger man flinch slightly. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation. Just a presence so powerful that the threat itself evaporated. The Don's son's confidence cracked first in his voice, then his expression. He muttered something about not wanting trouble before backing toward his car. But the leader didn't need to move a muscle, his glare alone sent the young man scrambling into his vehicle. Within seconds, the black car peeled away, leaving nothing but tire marks and humiliation behind. Claire held her daughter close, not sure whether to cry in relief or fear. But the leader knelt down beside the apples scattered across the pavement, picking one up and brushing off the dust. He placed it gently back into the crate, straightening it with surprising care. Another rider joined him, then another, helping pick up the fallen fruit. For a moment, the street felt transformed, no longer a place of struggle but a place of compassion. The leader reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope, setting it beside Claire with a simple nod. His voice, calm yet firm, carried a weight only life could forge. He didn't explain, didn't ask anything in return. He simply told her to keep fighting and protect her little girl, because the world needed mothers like her. And then, in a gesture that hit her like a wave of warmth, he handed the little girl a crisp apple, whole, shiny, and perfect, and told her to take care of her mom. The rumble of engines filled the air again as they mounted their bikes. Claire watched them ride off, disappearing around the corner like silent guardians returning to the shadows. When she opened the envelope with trembling fingers, tears fell onto the street. Inside was enough money to pay her mortgage, clear her bills, and keep her and her daughter safe for a long time. She sobbed quietly, overwhelmed by the grace of unexpected heroes. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to support more inspiring stories like this. Before you leave, comment below, kindness still exists. As the sun continued to rise, Claire held her daughter close, feeling hope settle gently into the place where fear once lived. The world had shown her its cruelty, but on this very street, it had also shown her its courage. And somewhere far off, the rumble of motorcycles echoed like a promise, that even in the darkest moments, help can arrive from the most unexpected places.